Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm doing this broken doll look. Let's get into the video. I'm going to start by gluing my eyebrows down. I do about 12 layers, doing 3 to 4 layers and then letting that dry and then continuing until I can no longer feel my eyebrow hair. I'm going on top of them with a thick concealer, letting that dry down a little bit and then going on top of my face with foundation. You can see there is a little bit of a section that I already started to draw out. That's going to be the section the foundation is not going to be touching. Everywhere else is going to be getting the foundation. I'm going on top of my eyebrow with a white cream paint. This keeps the glue from shining through, and then I'm also going to set that just to keep it from being shiny. With a small shader brush and brown eyeshadow, I'm going to start sketching out where that skull is going to be. For the skull, I mixed up a white, blue, and yellow body paint to create this bone color. I'm going to be filling in the skull from the top of the socket down with that same paint and then leaving the area where the hollow of the cheekbone is blank to paint later. I mixed up this light pink color out of just pink and white body paint, and I'm going to start creating these squiggly lines and keeping them very close to each other. This is going to replicate the idea of a brain. While the brain portion is drying, I'm moving over to the skull, and with a shader brush and a little bit of black eyeshadow, I'm going to start creating the definition in the skull. Looking at a reference image is definitely going to be very helpful. I'm taking a smaller paintbrush and a more pigmented black eyeshadow, and I'm just going to start defining those areas that I've already started drawing out the features and making them appear a lot darker so that they look a lot more receded. With a fluffy brush and black eyeshadow, I'm just darkening the side of that skull so that we can give it the appearance that it's further back. Moving back over to the brain, I mixed up a red and pink body paint to create this color to go in between each of the crevices within the brain. Let's give these brains some definition. So with a small shader brush, I'm taking some red eyeshadow and I'm going into the crevice of each of those little brainy areas. And I'm also shading on the side of that light pink that we laid down. This is going to make sure to give that some type of 3D realism to it and not look so flat. To further the definition, I'm going to start adding some highlight, and I'm just applying a white cream paint with a paintbrush to the high points of that brain. With black body paint, I'm going to start filling in the hollow of the cheekbone, and then I'm also going to start drawing some cracks within the skull just to give it a little bit more pizzazz. Moving on to the cracks, I'm using a very fine detail brush. This is actually for nail art, and I'm going to make like 1 million cracks. And I'm just using black body paint and lots of time and patience. Reference images are helpful if you want to look up like cracked fine china. That can really give you a good idea of how the crack should look. I wanted a variety of cracks, so I did make some a little bit thicker and bolder, just kind of closer to where those cracks would have started. I was feeling like there needed to be some shadow, so I'm going in with a shader brush and some brown eyeshadow to create some shadow on top of that brain as if the skull was casting a shadow onto the brain. With a detailed paintbrush and white cream paint, I'm starting to add some highlights to the cracking. I'm kind of being a little bit random about it and just putting the highlights where I think that highlights would have been. With that same brush and light brown eyeshadow, I'm going and adding in some shadow to some of those cracks, concentrating it a little bit more on the lower end of each of the cracks. For the doll eye, I'm using some black body paint on that fine bristled brush, and I'm drawing a line underneath my eye a little bit further down so that we can fill that area in with white body paint to have the eye appear a little bit larger. I wanted her to look very creepy, so I'm filling in the eye with a black eyeshadow and I'm smoking it all the way out to my eyebrow, and I'm smoking it underneath because I want her to look very creepy. I wanted to have some extra spiky looking eyelashes, so with black body paint I'm drawing on my own eyelashes and keeping my face very straight in the mirror. I have my mirror lifted up so that I can make sure that I am nice and straight in it so they don't look all weird when I move around. After a while, I like to take a step back and look at a different mirror to see if there's anything else that I should add before moving on. And I did notice that I should start adding some shadow underneath the cracking onto the brain. So that's what I'm doing here with a small shader brush and black eyeshadow. I'm just starting to add a shadow on top of the brain so that you can really get that dimension. I mixed a pink and purple body paint to create this lip color, and I'm going to start drawing out the doll lips. Once I have them all drawn out the way that I want, I'm going to start putting some foundation on the side of the lips to carve them out, and this is going to make them look a lot sharper and more doll-like. Alright, moving on to the body. I'm taking a small shader brush with some brown eyeshadow and I'm creating the neckline. Once I have that nice and deep enough, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more brown eyeshadow on a shader brush and start blending that up so we can start giving it a really nice dimension before we go in and darken it up anymore. For the arms, I'm copying the same thing I did on my neck, drawing it out in brown eyeshadow and giving it a nice shadow while shading it kind of down the ball joint. This is going to give it some really nice dimension. Then with black eyeshadow, I'm going to further the dark brown eyeshadow to create an even deeper shadow and give it that really great illusion like the neck and the arms are actually just connected by plastic pieces. Let's highlight this girl with white cream paint and a big fluffy brush. I'm adding some highlights to the top of the shoulders. And I felt like if you shined a light on this doll, then she would have some shiny spots on her face. So I'm adding some highlights on her face as if shine was touching her face. And then for the neckline, I'm going to be adding some white cream paint right underneath that darkest shadow that we made. This is going to also further the shadow and give it a lot more dimension. All right, and one last thing to add because I couldn't have a blank chest. So I'm going to be drawing a big black hole in her chest. With black body paint, I'm just sketching out that hole that's going to be and filling it up with black body paint. With white body paint, I'm concentrating that in the inside of the cracks just to give it a little bit dimension, like if you were looking inside of the doll, you would be able to see a little bit of an edge. With a tiny bristle brush that we used from earlier, I'm going to be adding lots of cracks all around it. With a detail brush and white cream paint, I'm starting to add the highlights where the light would be hitting those cracks. And with a brown eyeshadow, I'm starting to add the shadows where the shadows would hit on those cracks. I popped in a Scelera contact, and with black eyeshadow, I'm just going to be shading that entire socket. I'll be popping in a white contact into my other eye. And this is the completed look. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.